Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus returned home to Bangladesh on Thursday to lead the new interim government after weeks of tumultuous student protests forced Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign and leave the country. The South Asian nation's only Nobel laureate and a harsh critic of Hasina, Yunus, 84 years old, arrived in Dhaka following medical treatment in Paris after protesters backed him for a role in the government tasked with holding elections for a new leader. Yunus is set to be sworn in as chief of team of advisors at about 14:30 GMT at the official residence of President Mohammad Shahabuddin.
Using the means of revolution, Bangladesh will create its new dawn of victory. Keeping this vision ahead of us, we have to keep going ahead. I want to express my gratitude and praise the youth who have made this possible. They have protected this country and given it a rebirth, and we wish for this new Bangladesh to progress with speed.
Meanwhile, Ministry of India's External Affairs held a press conference in the national capital on Thursday. Addressing the media, spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal spoke on the ongoing crisis in Bangladesh, hoping that the country returns to normalcy soon.
Certain steps have been taken by groups and organizations, and we welcome that. But we want that the law and order situation in the country improves so that normal life can begin. We are closely monitoring the situation. We are in touch with to ensure the safety and security of our missions, of our personnel who are manning those missions, and also for the safety and security of Indian nationals. Interest of the people of Bangladesh is foremost in our minds, in the mind of the government, and it's so important for government of India and for the people of India. With regard to the status of minorities, there are also reports that various initiatives have been taken by groups and organizations to ensure the protection and well-being of the minority. I would like to reiterate what External Affairs Minister had said in the Parliament. We welcome these steps, but will naturally remain deeply concerned till law and order is visibly restored. Having said that, we also want to make it clear that it is the responsibility of every government to ensure well-being of all its citizens. We hope for early restoration of law and order in Bangladesh.
And for more on the developments in Bangladesh, DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us live from New Delhi. Jessica, Muhammad Yunus is set to take charge at a very critical moment for Bangladesh. What kind of experience does he bring to the job, and what will be his priorities?
Well, his priority certainly would be to restore peace in the country right now. We also hear reports of certain minorities being targeted in Bangladesh, and that has been a particular concern to India as well. You heard the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs and the Joint Secretary Ranveer Jaiswal just tell our viewers about a while ago that they're closely monitoring the developing situation in Bangladesh and will be able to sort of talk with the authorities in case those incidents are reported. Now remember, a lot of Bangladeshi Indians who were in Bangladesh have been now back in the country. A lot of those students as well, and the High Commissioners and the Assistant High Commissioners remain in touch with the students as well. But as far as Muhammad Yunus is concerned, will these developments right now that he's now arrived in Dhaka and to now lead the interim government, which will also be also joined by 15 other council members, is supposed to primarily work on law and order at this point, make sure that the crackdown by the forces, especially the police forces, and the restoration of the police forces would also be a priority for the new government at the helm of affairs, and also being able to ensure at this point that things run smoothly, because it's the student protesters whose one definite demand at that time was that Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina be removed, or she resigns, which she has already. And now the country will move towards normalcy, especially when it comes to focusing on its economy. Once it's had a political structure in place, it will be focusing on how to ensure that the students are given the kind of assurance, especially when it comes to law and order, and having having people's faith restored in the judiciary and as well as the police. That distrust, that disconnect between the system and the state and the society at large would be something that, of course, Mohammed Yunus would have to work on. And given the fact that he did try to make his to form his political career back in 2007, if you go through the past records, this is the time that the 84-year-old Nobel laureate would try and make a difference, especially when his first statement to the press, when he received the news and agreed to lead the government, the interim government in Bangladesh, was that army give over the control to a civilian government.
Right.
And that has perhaps happened. So a sigh of relief there.
And Jessica, a little more on how India is looking at the evolving situation in Bangladesh. We heard the MEA, especially with regard to safety of its nationals. You mentioned condition of the minorities and also the porous borders between the two countries.
That's right. In Tripura as well, Agartala, there were reports pointing out, and of course the PSF has increased its patrols and engagement as well. And India, on the other hand, as I said and I mentioned earlier, has been watching the situation quite closely and monitoring all the developments coming out of Bangladesh, as there have been few incidents of targeting minorities in various places and people, of course those radical elements fishing in troubled waters. But given those situations, particularly in mine, India, as we're also told by the Joint Secretary and the spokesperson for the MEA just a while ago, that there will be a representation from the Indian side. Maybe the High Commissioner would attend the swearing-in ceremony, which we're given to understand will take place roughly around 8 p.m. So, of course, those details will be firmed up in just a bit. But that's what we can tell you, and India will be watching this takeover or this complete different political structure now in Bangladesh very, very closely.
Jessica, thank you for those updates.